Please spread all over the globe, let us cross their plan. Comment of the translator. I'm translating this text because I think the world should know about the content. I'm personally of the opinion that this whistleblower report is absolutely true and authentic, as everything fits perfectly to what we are aware about. I do not care about how many institutions will claim it was a fake, because most institutions follow their own hidden agenda, while we are independent and working without payment just for the spreading of what we consider as truth. The world must know what is going on in Europe and especially in Germany. The evening news on TV will not report about. Even reading this content the first time was horrible. This is the reason why we call it the face of the Antichrist. For those of you who cannot imagine that evil of that sort would really exist, PLS. Educate yourselves about the Morgenthau plan, the Hotun plan, the Kalagi plan. Super lodges. Must read, Gerard Menuhin, Tell the Truth and Shame the Devil. Phoenix Journals number 39, 40 and 41. I have personally looked over the email very critically, checking out style, grammar, possible contradictions and personal imprint of the author, who is, besides, in no way anonymous. She signs by her full name, Dipl-Ing, adequate German expression for MSc or Meng, for Master of Engineering, Dr. Austeja Emilija Dominykas, suffering from leukemia since 2014, having nothing to lose and believing she will pass before end of the year. The text is the content of a German YouTube video by a producer calling himself Zerbuster. He is publishing the email he receives, and this whistleblower email is number 10. If you search for Zerbuster and Zushkaya post number 10 you will be able to find the video. We have learned meanwhile that the producer had a well-known YouTube channel before, with a great number of followers, which YouTube deleted. Guess why? The name of the person Zerbuster is stated to be Brandon Lakefield on the video. His email is wichtig@zerbuster.org. www.youtube.com web link. We consider it vital to save this material, so that it can be put on again in case censorship will hit again. If you for yourselves come to the conclusion that this report was true, then please help spreading this, put it into discussion platforms and websites, send it on to your friends. We, as humanity, are at the crossroads point and must make sure to take the direction which will not trap us but lead us upon the path of divine evolution. Humanity's destination is to be a blessing for the planet, nothing else. And this is the path we must take. Bolded words in the text marked by the translator. Leaked, official agenda for the destruction of Germany. Face of the Antichrist visible. Whistleblower report by Dipl-Ing. Dr. Austeja Emilija Dominykas. Translated into English from the German original by Brainactivator. September 2016. Email titled, A Life Story of Horror. Sent to Brandon Lakefield, wichtig@zerbuster.org. On 19th of September 2016. On 5.53 hours, supposed AM, data content 36 kilobits. By Austeja. You can watch the header on the YouTube. Dear Brandon Lakefield, nice pseudonym. At first, thank you very much for the many encouraged videos you published, for adding sound to words of the people and for having the heart to publicly spread. And even without any balance, and on taking the full risk in our fascist German dictatorship, where anything becomes censored and distorted, this is a remarkable performance. Unfortunate that people like you have become so rare. Most people duck down, in an elusive hope that it would get better someday. In advance I would like to ask you to regard me as a nutcase, conspiracy theorist, or what expression ever you best go along with. This way it is likely to become easier for you to buy into what I have to tell. Please excuse my missing paragraphs or one or the other typo. The remnants of my ability to concentrate have been taken by my latest chemo and I'm trying hard to keep myself together. My profession is an engineer for tunnel construction, especially gauge pressure armor reinforcement facilities. More clearly, constructor for deep bunker sites. My personal story commences in February 2001, when the BBR, Bundesamt für Bau Ordnung und Raum, a German office for architectural control and compartment, was calling for tenders on 7 locations designated for building sites for area safeguarding of the population, in case of mass evacuation. My person as well as 6 further experts on that specific field were collecting at the planning office at Kassel, on 23rd of March 2001. At first we had to sign 10 different declarations of secrecy of 10 different government departments, among them 2 which were classified as top secret documents, for the Ministry of Defense. Bundesverteidigungsministerium. I was wondering why, as evacuation sites for the population are in no way classified top secret. Generally they are public and you can even visit them after inquiring at the BBR. In the afternoon we were taken to Ramstein Air Base by helicopters of the Federal Armed Forces where our complete planning staff collected. I was advised to take leadership of PG4, planning group. At the dinner buffet taking place at the wardroom of the airbase we then were approaching each other, leading conversations on the goals. The next morning they presented to us the locations, areas as well as the master plan. We had to build 7 deep bunker complexes, at 7 different locations in Germany, with underground train connections, coves for stocking material, independent geothermic energy supply and water supply from deep wells. Every single complex was destinated to shelter 300,000 people. The locations are as follows: Kassel, Sill, Fürth, Simmern, Berlin West, Lüneburg, Görlitz. Comment of the translator: strange that there is obviously no single site in the very southern part of Germany. Fürth is the most southern location, so the most wealthy regions of Germany, Bavaria and Baden-Württemberg, would have absolutely no base of that sort. The first drillings were covered as road building activities and remained completely in the dark, because of the secondariness of cities and rural districts. We were astonished that in my own project absolutely nobody in Simmern seemed to raise even the slightest form of suspicion. The population remained absolutely clueless and still is. In 2004 we had mined 12 chambers in Beg 3, depth of 70 meters in the rock of Hansruh. In February 2004 we got assistance of an Australian crew of specialists for diamond mining, as the extremely hard sediment layers had caused us delay in the schedule. In July we had finished 16 chambers. The planning staff of the Ministry of Defense then collected all of us in Berlin, end of July 2004, where we were presented changed plans. The plan had now added 16 further chambers for stocking of explosive goods as well as 4 large chambers with heavy-duty elevators for track vehicles, aircraft as well as 2 areas for simulators of urban territory. I was really astonished, and there was even protesting among us, as we most likely would not have been prepared to be involved into a military bunker project, having been aware of that kind of information 3 years earlier. What really amazed me even more is the fact that the plan provided a chapel, or better a mosque, to be more precise, while there was obviously no Christian accommodation planned. In June 2005 we had finished the new chambers. However, there arose problems with waste dump. Common strategies like compaction and floating out, like on normal sites, did not bring us on, therefore the dump was pumped up with the help of deep well water and rock shredders and distributed in the environmental forests. That worked astoundingly well. But unfortunately floating out caused considerable dying of trees. The regional government covered it by a PR campaign about pest infestation. On 14th of November 2005 we were invited for a briefing, being introduced to the Chief of the Federal Chancellery as well as to the new Chancellor, Merkel. Afterwards we were being told that our progress was considered to be fine and our projects were furthermore subject to highest agreement. Just about 1 week later this mentally slightly disabled daughter of a priest then became the CEO of the BRD Corporation, as the new German expression goes. This winter I was taking my first long vacation on Maui, Hawaii, sponsored by the Rockefeller Corporation. There I met several political operatives, informed about our work and trying to enthuse us about their building projects, for example in Canada, Netherlands, Argentina or France, as soon as the German sites were operating. In April 2006 finally there took place the installation of the actual bunkers. We were using such high quantities of stress-strain steel and water-resistant concrete that the quantities seemed to make up with the Liyuan Dam in China, as well as quite 100 tons of LWL, fiber optic cable for data transfer, lit 12-liter cable for data transfer. Afterwards the technical crew from Israel came in, doing the installations of energy and light. All of that was so expensive that in 2006 alone we had to correct the specified budget upwards for 6 times. Politics got under pressure more and more by that, so that finally the value-added tax was increased, as otherwise our projects might have become revealed. In addition, we had to use our own energy suppliers, as the consumption of our generators working with low-gravity oil was so massive that we permanently were facing problems with replenishment. By introducing the new law for optimizing Hearts for social money for long-term unemployed people, which means the money was shortened under special circumstances, one was able to press further 200 billion for use in our projects. I recite how the politician Franz Muntefering calls the receivers of Hearts for vegetables, or unworthy human material, which is obviously a common insider term. In January 2007 the shell including electronics was finished, as well as 2 long-distance tunnels leading to the complex Kassel and Fürth. Then the rail was installed by French specialists, who also supplied the adequate trains including boxes for troop transport. These boxes are set up in a way that they can be transported by either one of the 34 Vtl aircraft or by the deep underground train. They can take 400 men with full equipment, or 16 men in tank battle equipment, or 2 tanks. The train can run 100 km per hour and the rail is completely underground. The complete complex is hermetically sealed and closed in itself. Our complex comprises 16 elevators which can take 14 armature tanks and 60 men. The exits are fully camouflaged as water protection buildings or power transformer buildings or wireless sender buildings. The complex is completely safe against nuclear attacks, according to VNN-22B, and will stand even a direct hit in the range of 500 kilotons, without suffering pressure loss. All of the quality control, inner painting and the first supplies of equipment to be installed, like large capacity computers, sanitary facilities, etc., was done parallelly. In 2008 we received order to drill 8 further fuel slots for storing each 200.000 cubic meters diesel, heavy oil and kerosene. In addition, freshwater tanks and a large-size stock for freeze-dried food for 200.000 soldiers, 10.000 men staff and further 6,000 clerks and professional indoctrinated female entertainers, whores, all of that lasted until 2009. The installation comprised a complete mosque, in all locations. I noticed especially that in terms of the freeze-dried food one was extremely paying attention to it being whole-suited and never contained pork. We had loudspeakers installed, in all locations, for morning prayers. The company Wichtig delivered shiploads of containers with ABC battle equipment, pistols, assault rifles with bayonets by H&K, Heckler and Koch, 10.000 tons of munition, 18 sleeping rooms were equipped with beds, 68.003 level beds in total, shower facilities for 14.000 men at the same time, ABC showers in the elevators, 4 hospitals with 6 fully functional surgery rooms each and giant stocks filled with medical goods. We had installed hundreds of flat screens for spreading Arab messages from the Wahhabite Quran, telling that Christs are low animals which must be slaughtered and that nobody was to spare and that it was God's will to teach a Western woman respecting the God warriors, endlessly, by infinite loop. All of these systems consumed so much energy that we had to look for a solution. The geothermic facilities did not supply enough energy to cover the need. The diesel generators were just destinated for emergency cases and the planned nuclear power plants had to be dropped due to lack of uranium, so we had to act quickly. Translator. They seem to have never heard about Tesla. We are being told that the US bases run completely on free energy, but it can be supposed that the US occupiers of Germany do not want Germany to have the Tesla free energy. Comment of the translator. As CEO Merkel was scheduled for a time in office of 16 years, 2005 to 2021, there was a PR campaign prepared, in all regions, which resulted in installation of windcraft and solar energy plants. Some corporate groups could be convinced to offer their roofs for that purpose, for producing more energy. By that we were able to suck a sufficient quantity of energy out of the public net, to cover the need of our extremely energy-intense bunker sites. 2010 the so-called climate turn was started to be pushed, and after the blowing up of Fukushima in 2011 it was no more problem to keep it running. Comment of translator. The German original states the word Springung in relation of Fukushima. This states clearly that there was a man-made act involved and she seems to know about. All the English expressions are not as clear as this German word. In 2010 I was assisting at different ministries to install collective bunkers below the cities: Berlin, Cologne, Hamburg, Bremen, Kiel, Düsseldorf, Munich and Stuttgart. You may certainly have noticed that the new Berlin airport is a bottomless pit. And the reason for this is that 95% of the money is being derailed for our purposes. The airport will never get finished. Same with the project Stuttgart 21, a such-like project. Truly, in every single of the named cities there is a large building project which is consuming disproportionate amounts of money. This money is being used for projects as mine. In Berlin drilling was not possible due to the very hard structure of the ground. We had to blast. Especially the high-security bunker of the Wehrmacht, officially called Federal Armed Forces, below the office of the Federal Chancellor, was extremely difficult to build. We were always on the brink of blowing our cover. The popular Edition House of Distraction, COP, I adore this Edition House because of its courage, has reported several times, as well as others, too, of nightly sounds of explosions in Berlin Wedding and Mitte. They have not failed to hear correctly. They were right with their supposals. It's just that nobody will believe them. You will know by yourself how deep the Germans have their heads sticking into the sand bucket. For ourselves this was a great advantage. We were able to blast and build up the tunnels and nuclear security areas during day and night. Overpressure was being gassed out via 2 storehouses in Wedding and 3 startup carriers in Berlin Mitte, which enabled us to go on with the job until 2015 without delay. My mental ruin. In June 2012 I was announced project leader in the planning staff New Europe, and from then on my health started to fail. In 2012 the UN secretly announced the application of the migration weapon against Europe in 2015. Through resources of the UN, the World Bank and the EU were installed 5 recruiting centers for workers in Africa as well as 10 further centers in Middle East. Anybody matching the criteria was given a smartphone and €2,500 cash, then being integrated into the predefined refugee routes. The German offices were informed about and became coordinated. Officially this started in 2015, but unofficially all of that was already kicked off in 2013, at first in lower numbers. Only in 2015 the Enter Operation Syria set the ball rolling. Suited candidates ideally had to be 20-30 years of age. Procreative, was tested. Have an IQ of 90 at max. As uneducated as possible, more violent and more easy to conduct. Be Wahhabite or Salafi and ideally disdain Christs. Must have. Nice to have. Especially welcome were men peeking out by abnormal sexual behavior. Like pedophiliac or homosexual, and whose tendency to violence against women was noticeable. In order to tease them additionally, one arranged their being confronted with women having been recruited under pressure via job centers, paid just starvation wages, just having received a 2-hour crash advice about how to deal with these stinky and over-aggressive men not being able to speak any European language. This took place in France, Austria and Germany. It was hoped for an increasement of birth rates by resolute sexual actions, rape, no joke. This is the exact wording of the Federal Ministry for Family Affairs. As often security personnel was present, it took some time until the security personnel started to look away, and it occurred in 576 cases that sexual international understanding happened, leading to procreation in 44 cases. The babies were taken away from the mothers directly after birth and given under custody of the state. In all cases the women were fired and indicted of ensnarement of underage wards. A diversity of high-paid Islam experts is being involved, who are not set up for supervision to find out if somebody is connected to IS, but to lead targeted actions of the sleeper agents under control of the protection of the Constitution. In the accommodation facilities, especially in cities, Muslims are becoming exercised to disdain female Christs. I have gained knowledge of 48.323 covered cases of indications of rape, countryside as well as metropolitan areas, alone in 2015. While propaganda drum loves to present more and more impudent Muslims on TV, behaving like Nazis in years 33-45, translator, PLS. Do your homework and educate yourselves on true German history, in order to elicit the Germans for coming out from behind their collectedness. As well, left-hand radical violence by autonomous and anarchists comes apart at the seams in a way which makes me wonder how media can ignore those over years. Of course, one needs to be aware of the fact that 99% of these people are in service to the state, protection of the Constitution, from one of the many troops for handling special situations, paid by the CEO with 40 million a year, since 2009. These have been responsible for burned cars etc. entertainment out of the pot of the jazz payers. Jazz is a fee every German has to pay to support the media. Comment of the Trans. The groups are being selected and sorted into 5 waves. Wave 1. Harmless people and children. Wave 2. Sick children and elder people. Wave 3. People with infectious diseases, infertile women, widows. Wave 4. Highly aggressive teens and psychopaths. Wave 5. Rebels and army members, able to handle weapons and indoctrinated. This latter group is the one residing in our bunkers by thousands already. We are up to 30% at present. By mid of 2017 the remaining 70% will arrive by night flights at the airports of Cologne, Düsseldorf, Ramstein, Frankfurt-Hahn. Comment of the Trans. Edition House Cop, mentioned above, has reported about these flights bringing in further Muslims, and stated they would immediately be put in buses driving away with unknown destination. The newspaper Jungfreiheit, which is not a part of the mainstream news, but recently showing a change in this direction, has brought an article bashing Cop for claiming the Muslim arrivals by airplane at night, stating this was not proved and it was just tourist flights arriving, low-priced and therefore at night. So, obviously they have been bought by some unknown agent. End of 2016 the 5 Africa recruiting centers will start to send their 5 waves, comprising in total 8 million of highly aggressive Africans, as well as 2 million weak-minded, so the official expression, the unofficial one is slaughter cattle, to Germany. Meanwhile there have been built or rented supply, logistics bunkers below every larger city, stocking hundreds of thousand tons of freeze-dried food, for all who will be prepared to be refit shipped after the crash in 2017. There is no food reserve planned and stocked for hearts for people and retired persons. These are officially set free to pass, more precisely to starve. This is what the state has planned, since they implemented ALG 2 equals Arbeitslosen Jobs 2, a social support people get if they remain unemployed for more than 1 year. Comment of the Trans. They are expecting a lot of loss, dead employees, in the social offices and job centers. For these reasons these employees were selected accordingly, which means these people are preferably outside the subject area, ruthless, weak, uneducated, envious, malicious, of bad character, migration background, welcome, bad German language skills and physical handicaps, so that they cannot escape from their pursuers. One-man security personnel is just a security gap in the eyes of a veteran, not even a victim. This is wanted. For the coward employees should not be holding back with penalties and lean far out of the window, so that people are being driven into actions of disconsolation, for pure existential fear. And besides, jail offers 3 warm meals, shelter and heating at no charge, and you are in companionship. Sorry for my cynicism. The big crash is scheduled for 2017. CEO Merkel will then put into effect the changed emergency laws, origin 1968, and withdraw into the Chancellor bunker, together with her crisis staff, in 160 meters depth below Berlin, offering a luxury letting every Hilton look pale. All being financed out of the pot of social performance. Cost of about €12 billion. It is offering fully autarkic security to Mrs. Young Pig, equals word game, name Merkel. A young pig is a Ferkel in German, and her female spouse. Merkel has a husband, but who knows if this is not just a cover. Comment of Trans, as well as to her Chancellor office staff including families, for unknown time. Comment, some person has leaked pictures of luxury bunkers under Germany without stating the location. I have seen them and I can acknowledge its high-class luxury. The Chancellor Office building owns bootable shields made of bulletproof steel and air defense missiles upon the roof. 60 meters above the CEO Merkel leader bunker the Federal Army General Staff has its emergency seat for 2,000 soldiers designated for special operation, equipment and mini Pentagon Central Command, large capacity computer and directive central, being able to give orders to all 1,2 million soldiers waiting inside the subground bunkers. As soon as the social systems will have collapsed, the schedule foresees a massive and merciless attack against the German population of German offspring, Bio-German. At first the police is set up to run an unpromising fight, afterwards the federal armed forces will be directed to slaughter each other, and then, when the pot is boiling at high temperature, they are going to open up the subground bunkers and WW3 will begin. According to the schedule, at least 15 million citizens of German offspring, preferably elders and economically weak, shall be eliminated without mercy. There are planned mass expropriations and the properties will be gifted to us American holdings at low price. The German population will not be having any rights until 2019, whoever will be up in arms against the government will be shot. This has already been legalized by the Contract of Lisbon. The US troops will overfly Germany with their Reaper drones, intending to bomb every larger rebellion or mass gathering of people by hellfire or napalm, and the press will talk about deviators or enemies of the state. Whoever is against Merkel is against Germany, is an enemy of democracy and freedom. The Third Reich is still here, it has been waiting in the shadow and is now showing up again with a changed crew. Comment: please do your homework. 180 detention centers for Bio-Germans and German offspring, derailed artists and dissidents, peace messengers and protesters are currently being built, and anybody revolting will be placed in such a camp for starving. Comment: Eisenhower 2.0, see tag Rinwissenliga, or Rinwissenkamp. It's exactly as they told us how it seemingly used to be. Who'll resist to play their Nazi game is one of today's Nazis. Cologne was, by the way, just to set up orchestration for testing the reaction of the population. The press was receiving their concept papers only days after. Internal Security had planned this in Jan 2015 already. The testing balloon was Sylvester at Cologne. The inditions of the females from Cologne and everything around was just a PR show, as government intended to awake the rage of the Germans, but these are so full up, vegan and meek as a lamb that there were just a few more reactions than some shitstorms. I recite, whoever is suffering burning sensations in the own lap, caused by penetrating violence, still has no idea about half of Africa wanting to additionally fuck you. This was recited from a Schwarzer, who said this on a press party, drunk as a skunk. I was standing next to her. Perhaps a few harmless air bubbles went up, the usual stuff. The area around the dome would not even offer room enough for a flash mob. Also nice, Brussels and Munich as well as the attack of Bruegge was just terrortainment for security personnel, labeled as real terror attacks, as usual. Just the same way as the blowing up the World Trade Center, maybe there will be a few civil victims having been at the wrong location by error. But since 20 years all of the terror scenarios are being operated by hand of the state, otherwise its power would reduce. Fear runs the world and the business around makes about 90% of world economy. Be safe. Keep away from the following cities: Cologne, Dresden, Berlin, Hamburg, Duisburg, Düsseldorf, Oberhausen, Schwerin, Potsdam, Ulm, Frankfurt, Bremen. These are cities which will be 100% destroyed, when in 2019 after the German Civil War the Russian major offensive is scheduled. A nuclear hit will just be suffered by the USA, when China will be visiting them in 2020. NY will die down in 30-mount explosive force. This is, so far, for sure. After that a darkness will occur lasting for 3 days, caused by nuclear dust. Do not leave your home during these days, seal your windows and doors and just consume canned food and water from glass bottles, which you store inside. And keep calm, no matter how big the outside wailing will be. Comment Ransel, I do not believe that this scenario will strike. Things are about to chance, the power of the devil is reducing already. We have chanced to a much more positive timeline, but the author of the mail might not be aware of all of that. She was into the living room of the Dark Lord with obviously no chance to develop hope and mental skills. Avoid fast food chains, frozen pizza and deep frozen products. No joke, in some fast food nutrition they implemented catalytic converters affecting mass dying, designed by Bayer. And do not take any vaccines, under no circumstances. All of the active components have been fully contaminated already. The Competition House as well as others report about aspartame and its side effects. These people unfortunately just know half of the truth. Aspartame is much worse than most of the people will be slightly able to imagine. Neotame and aspartame are such catalytic converters, being able to quickly knock you out. Aspartame was developed to make Creutzfeldt-Jakob profitable and to make billions with Alzheimer, in case the people do fail the sugar insulin trap. Do not drink water from the main and no products by Nestle, Coca-Cola and Fanta. These products are already contaminated. Uprisings will occur, which the police will brutally strike down, so people will start to act private revenge against policemen, and so this will also boil up. Everybody will fight against anybody, so it will seem, and the industry of asylum will go on bailing yield returns, with greed dropping out. For migrants they will build complete new cereal houses, whole supermarkets, Muslim kindergartens, equipped best of, to be attended no charge, complete new housing estates with first-class infrastructure, no-charge cars, driving permissions and cloths by designer labels. Soon mosques will be built and old churches torn down for it. Within 3 years of time taxes will be so high that unpayable, and the state will be merciless, like always. The only chance the Germans have would be to pummel upon and to choke anybody not behaving German-like or looking German, in principle anybody not being white, and from that strong fascism will grow in the end, which is, as per my understanding, also scheduled. Instead of Jews one may amuse with 50 million new citizens, called true Germans, and the pile of dead bodies will be high. Afterwards no one will ever more accept a woman as a leader, and democracy will be completely out. Same rights for women will again take 100 more years, until women will be allowed to protest. Women's libers will straight become hanged. Could be that people will become more respectful regarding God. Most probably there will be a monarchy with a very strong and motivated army of citizens, who will radically hang everybody not being white on the next tree, equal if guilty of not. This is the way things have always been in the past. So, let's see if the Germans would prefer to allow their own slaughter in the vegan way, or otherwise again become Saxon warriors teaching fear to wide regions, considering a scale-up gypsy way cool or whipped cookie, direct German translation, Blackamoor head. At last about myself. My roots are from Lithuania. I'm 45 years old, a former blonde, now no hair. My grandparents were Germans living in Lithuania. After the war they were expelled from by the Russians, as the Nazis had so poorly failed that our family became homeless. Formerly we had been a farmer's family, rich of ground and friends. My parents grew up in the Netherlands, welcomed by signs stating, "Piss off, we do not want you here." I grew up in Nijmegen, went to school in Amsterdam, performed my studies in Hamburg where I got my diploma. The doctor title, which I never again used, was granted to me in Madrid, for a dissertation on the Operation Rees, from the Nazi Epoch 45 in Poland. The following years I spent working in the industrial branch, building first tunnels and later bunkers for bigger building companies, and this is how I got in. I have never been married, and except for my dog Bedrich, died 3 weeks ago, named after Bedrich Smetana, my favorite composer, and a long-period pen friend, a scientist researching in Antarctica, I never had any remarkable touch to the world. I have always enjoyed calm and silence, most probably because it was so rare in my profession. In 2014 I came down with leukemia, uncurable. I'm in the final stage and most probably I'm not going to see New Year's Eve 2016. If a place like hell exists, I would probably have earned a place in the first row for myself, and on every German wishing me death I might not even be angry. As I'm single I thought to tell my story to somebody who might perhaps believe me a few of the insanity I have experienced. I hope you have found a safe spot where you can last during the coming years of war. I'm wishing you all the best and plenty of courage for your further videos and topics. It would be nice if you published a part of this. I'm unfortunately already missing the power to do this. Alone writing these lines seemed like a mammoth exercise to me. Kind regards. Dipl-Ing. Dr. Austeja Emilija Dominykas. End. P.S. I have checked the original mail and yes, there are typos and incomplete sentences. One can clearly see that this person is at the end of her forces but is still able to think and talk clear. It's no wonder she became sick. Check out leukemia on Dr. Hammer, Germanis Heilkund. She states in 2012 she became involved as a project leader in New Europe, and that this had been her mental ruin. This is a project you cannot simply leave. It would also not allow you to take your mobile inside to take photos. Every person involved would be completely surveyed by the BND, NZA. Mrs. Dominykas has certainly met a lot of insiders from different project parts, and this is the origin of information beyond drilling tunnels. Regarding the longer-term prognosis, Russia blowing cities, nuke attack on NY, this is what the persons involved into the projects were certainly briefed about. This was the original schedule, and they would not have been informed if something had changed to destabilize the original plan. They would not have briefed about it or any divine, metaphysical factors. One would have made sure that all of them buy into the no hope left plan. Mrs. Dominykas states she got sick in 2014, so from then on she was most probably not fully involved anymore and might not have been aware about changed circumstances. The dark makers are all heavily keen on mind control, and the hardcore of them will certainly try their best, up to the very end, to manifest their evil agenda, but their group is just about to lose power, and there is evidence already for that. After Mrs. Dominykas has now revealed her name, it could even happen that she will not even last until end of this year. One would certainly be prepared to take her out earlier, so that she would not be able anymore to answer further questions. Let's send us her protection and gratefulness and good vibes. Let's ask the divine hierarchy to put her under special shielding, so that she will not be lost to the group opposing evil. If you want to reach her personally, you can try to go via Zerbster, whose email has been stated above, but here it is again. Wichtig@zerbster.org. He is supposed to have the email contact of Austeja. Should anybody reading this be able to confirm any information contained in this message, please come back to Zerbster and make your statement. Perhaps one of the Australian crew for diamond mining who assisted back then, or any employee of Medal of Heckler and Koch delivering all the equipment, any person who assisted in installing the mosque things, or any person able to make statements on the location of the bunker entries and exits. There is no more time left to hesitate any longer. You must act now.